Hello there everyone, it's Aidan here from Push Square, and this weekend I've been playing Concord. The early access beta kicked off and it's given us our most in-depth look at the game, a feel for the gameplay, and I'm here to talk about the highs and lows of this beta. I want to talk about all of the things that I liked, all of the things that I didn't, the things that I have concerns for with this game. So let's get into it. Of course you're seeing some of my own PS5 gameplay playing over the video right now, so try not to judge me too hard I suppose. But first things first, I really enjoyed this beta. I know that's probably not going to be a surprise to anyone that watches the channel regularly. I'm a big fan of hero shooters like this, and Overwatch is probably the biggest and most apt comparison people will make. That is a game that weirdly I've played, but I've not like went deep on it. This though feels different in the sense that it walks that tightrope balance between a hero shooter like Overwatch and more of an arena shooter like, let's say, X-Defiant for recency's sake. It has this nice balance there where it's, you know, you're using these abilities, you're trying to support your team, but it's also, you know, it's a bit more fast paced, you're still racking up kills, which is something that I really appreciated with it. Now, this beta is giving us access to not the entire experience, but we have 3 modes, 4 maps, and all 16 of the free runners, so we get to try out all of the different characters. And basically the modes that we have access to right now are TDM, Team Deathmatch, Kill Confirmed, and some form of round-based capture the flag. It's a pretty simplistic approach right now. I think I was looking for modes that are maybe a little bit more objective based. Those are the types of games that I like to play, but I think if the focus is really getting a feel for the gameplay, then I see why that's the approach so far. My big initial concern is that both of the modes with respawns, the TDM and Kill Confirmed, which are not called that, but I can't remember what they're called at this point, but those two I felt were too short. You've got 30 points that you need to acquire on both ends, and it felt like it was ending within 5 minutes a lot of the time. It was very rare that a match ended due to the timer. It does happen on occasion, which would make it a 10-minute match, but a lot of the time it was ending earlier than that. And I felt like just as you were kind of getting into the swing of things, just as things were really heating up between the two teams, it was over. I would like to see some form of increased match time there, but then there's also to say that we will get additional modes in the full launch, probably game modes that will last a little longer. So maybe, you know, on the scale of things, these will be the shorter experiences for people looking for that, and there will be longer experiences down the line. But that's just something I felt when I was playing these modes. I just wanted a bit more. In terms of the heroes themselves, I think to start off there was the obvious favourites. You have somebody like Hamar, who has this fire-based crossbow and does a lot of damage, has a very floaty warlock-like jump and float from Destiny. Then there's the lizard guy Lennox, who has like revolvers, both fast-firing and a little more heavy-hitting, and he has a self-heal ability as well. These two I think are like the kind of main ones that people were gravitating towards. But saying that, I do think there was like a really good balance between, there wasn't like the one favourite person I think that everyone was like rushing to get as soon as they started the match, because of course you can only go as one character, and once that character's selected it's not available to anyone else. I never felt like there was that rush to quickly select those characters. There was a nice range. You have 5 players in each team, but I never felt that there was just the one that was in every single match, which I think is a really good sign of the balance that the roster has here. There's obviously your sort of archetypes of tanks and healers and aggressive players, all of those sort of gameplay roles, but generally each of them had this really fun gameplay loop within them where, you know, for Hamar as an example, you have this blinding, you could throw like a fire wall thing, you could throw a blinding kind of flashbang, and it meant you could really get in and you could charge up your crossbow as well. So there was a nice like kind of rhythm to her gameplay, and I think that carries across to a lot of the different roles, whether you're you know, looking for some smoke based cover things with Tio, who can highlight enemies through the smoke when looking down his scope, or One-Off, who was one of the players I probably played the most of, just based on it felt like it was one of the harder ones to learn, where you have this vacuum based weapon that can fire out and hurt people from a decent distance actually, or sort of suck in the projectiles and acts as a shield, and you have this barrage trash bomb. every single one of them, I think there was a nice learning curve where I wanted to get good at each of the 16 characters, and for the most part, there was very few that I felt like, oh, this isn't fun. I think the I've forgotten her name, but the character with the throwing knife was probably the most difficult character out of the bunch, but there was a really nice balance there, and obviously this is going to be one of these games where more free runners are added to it as it goes on. But generally across the board, I had fun with almost every single character on this roster, which is not something I think a lot of hero shooters can say. So that's nice to know, especially as it, like, from the very get, they have a nice roster like that. The biggest concern I think I really do have for the game is the leveling system. Obviously it's a beta right now, so we're not expecting everything to be there, but of what they're showing us so far, it either seems empty or a little sparse. You have a base leveling system for like your general profile. It capped at 14 for the beta, and it unlocks some skins for the various characters, and then each of the individual characters also had their own leveling system. And basically these level ups are earned through either just playing in the game, gathering experience on that front, or completing daily, weekly or seasonal challenges that went towards your overall profile. There was also another free runner challenge that unlocked different variants of the characters, so that would just basically be a change to their passive ability. I think that's nice to know that there's a reason there to like maybe dig into the characters a little deeper. But in terms of the general leveling system, I know they're probably holding, I hope at least that they're holding back the cosmetics, but it does at the moment feel like, why am I leveling up? What is the reason at this point? So I really want to know more about that as we get closer to launch, or might be something that we don't actually know until launch. But that is my biggest concern, because for me, there's aspects of like, yes, it's just a fun game to play, so you're gonna play it. But for me personally, I need some sort of reason beyond the fun to dig into it. I love a leveling system, I love some form of progression, even if it's just a battle pass as an example. I need something there, like within the challenges to keep me going. So hopefully we'll know a little more about that. But generally speaking though, I think I've been very impressed with the gameplay feel. It was very refreshing to see the other characters or other players that I was matching up with, even if in the matches when I just went in myself and I was with a random squad, people seemed to actually be playing their roles. It wasn't anyone just, oh, go in guns blazing with a healing character. Everyone seemed to be playing to each of the archetypes where it had a more dynamic feel, and on top of that, the abilities themselves refresh really quickly, either just naturally or you can refresh them by picking up these little things that are dropped when you kill another player, and that kept you using your abilities quite a lot. I'm really bad for holding on to abilities when I just feel like, oh, I have to wait for the right moment, and it never comes, or you end up not using it or whatever. Maybe that's just a me thing, but I always feel that sort of anxiety of like, oh, I don't want to waste this. But in this, you can use them so frequently, it's really not a hassle to get them back, that it meant that everyone was kind of using their abilities a bit more, which meant you had to be more aware of what each of the characters could do, which is like a really cool aspect to a hero shooter like this, to be more involved in the mechanics of each player. Additionally, the healing, which you wouldn't naturally regenerate your health, you had to either use these health pickup stations or be healed by another player. And while I didn't like it to start, to be honest, but I think it did sort of trickle down into the gameplay experience, where I wasn't just, right, I'll tuck behind this corner and wait for 20 seconds till my health goes back up. I felt the need to be a bit more proactive in that sense of like, right, there's a healing station over there, but it's got 10 seconds, so maybe if I move around this way or attack that way, or just take a little bit of health off of one of the enemy teams, because then they can't, you know, bring it back and they have to use a health kit. You know, there was a lot of layers, I suppose, that were added due to the health regeneration system. And to quickly speak on the whole weekly vignettes thing, obviously we saw an opening cinematic and we saw one of the weekly vignettes. They're high quality, they look really nice. It feels a little weird. I think there is a bit of a mismatch between, like, you see that and you think single player, and it seems that way. The production values are insanely good here, and it feels like a single player game when it's doing that, and it's like, no, we're going into round based modes now. There is a little bit of a disconnect there. I am curious to see how it works out in the long run, because I think when you have a community, having lore Expansive lore and like ongoing stories is part of the appeal. It's really important to a fandom, I suppose. And if Concord is able to build up a fandom, would this make it the best place for this existing lore? It was nice to see that they were already trying to build that with, there was just a couple of things here and there about the history of the world or the age of the characters. So it's interesting. I don't know how much I'm going to like it. At the moment it felt like it was just kind of there, despite how nice it all looked. So we'll see. But overall, I had a really good time with this beta. I'm kind of gagging to play a bit more, to be honest. I had that feeling of like, let's jump back in, let's just have one more game. And that's an excellent position to be in. But of course, let me know how you're feeling about it if you checked out the beta down below. Remember, there is actually an open beta following the week after on July 19th. Let's go for that date. I'm pretty sure it is. But of course, thank you as always for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I've been Aiden, and this has been Push Square.